This podcast contains explicit language.
And spoilers. Only if you suck.
Carlos here.
Dave here.
Two fat guys talk games and friends. Sound off, friend number 1, Kiki/Nivza.
Hello.
Excellent. Sound off, friend number 2, Poe/Apollo.
Hi.
Very nice, very nice. Sound off, friend number 3, Richie/Zeke.
Yeah, boy, we in the sub, yeah.
And your hosts, Dave and Carlos, back for another delightful podcast of video gaming shenanigans where we have done zero planning. So how the hell y'all doing?
Been doing pretty good. And some Batman Arkham Origins, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Final Fantasy 14.
Did you just say Fat Man Arkham Origins?
I said Batman.
No, you said Fat Man.
Sounded like Fat Man to me.
Alright, Batman
No, Fat Man.
Fat Man Arkham Origins, that's what it is. It's a new game, go check it out.
Some random fat dude just pushes Batman out of the way. He's like, get the fuck out the way, man. Batman Origins.
And don't make this again, otherwise I will sit on you.
Very nice. That's what the Y button does. I am doing well myself. I've been playing a buttload of Pokemon Y for some reason, and Diablo 3 for slightly more justifiable reasons, and Street Fighter games because I like fighters.
On my end, I've been doing alright myself. I've been playing some Pokemon X, some Phantasy Star Online 2, some Rogue Legacy on Steam, along with a little bit of DuckTales Remastered, and a little bit of WoW.
That game's still going?
We killed Garrosh, or rather, he's not dead.
Yeah, Garrosh survived the assassination attempt and is trying to kill Poe as we speak.
So he's undead.
No, he's a political prisoner.
French?
What the hell does that even mean?
It means
What
after
do you mean?
It means after he got beat, he got jailed and is now somewhere in Pandaria.
So he turned French for being in jail?
That's what Dave thinks.
What the fuck?
/ facepalm.
I know nothing about Warcraft mythology, because I totally skipped all the quest dialogue by all means necessary when I played that game.
Poe, did you seriously say backslash?
Yes, I said / facepalm.
Wow, I'm gonna smack you next time I see you.
Yo, man,
You're
come on, man.
disgusting.
I play MMOs too, dude. I don't even do that, man.
Did they actually put him on an island somewhere in Pandaria?
In, like, this one quest where you poke around in the time ways, he's, like, in the Temple of the White Tiger, he's all jailed and stuff, like, with a special lock that he can't break out of.
So he's fucking Napoleon. I was right!
You thought he was Napoleon? Napoleon's not French. I'm so
Yes,
confused.
he is.
Napoleon's totally French.
Is he
No.
really? Am I remembering? Wait, no. I'm thinking of. No, I'm.
See, the reason you don't think Napoleon is French is because he succeeded.
Oh.
Napoleon's totally French, by the way, people.
No, I'm thinking of the other guy.
I always thought he was Welsh.
No, I was. Do you know who the guy? Oh, fuck it, never mind.
No. I need to know what guy.
I think I was thinking of Christopher Columbus, but I know Christopher Columbus is not French. My mind was just, I don't know where my mind was.
Christopher Columbus didn't try to take over France as emperor, and he was Spanish.
I said I know he's not French.
Portuguese will claim that Christopher Columbus is Portuguese because that's technically correct, and that's the only thing us Portuguese kind of, claim to fame.
Yeah, he is Portuguese, if I recall correctly, and the Portuguese king was just like, you're not going to go anywhere. Go ask the Spanish king. And the Spanish king was like, yeah, sure, go. Here's our boat.
I've always thought this flat earth theory sounded retarded.
That king that said no must be kicking himself right now.
I'm pretty sure he's not kicking anything.
The bucket.
It would be kind of funny to he'd be like, Columbus did what? He discovered the word merda! Foda! I just swore in Portuguese for our non-Portuguese listeners.
Beautiful.
Now to cheat the Spanish out of half of South America.
A shitty half.
But they still did it.
Yeah, they did it. They got a half of a rugged continent that's mostly horrible, horrific rainforest.
They still got the better half.
Yeah, they got the better half. Fucking Brazil. The hell has Brazil ever contributed to... Oh, God. This is getting racist. Let's go on to our first gaming topic. Topic number 1. Actually, let me ask you guys, do you want to just each bring our own topic to the table, or do we want to...
No.
I didn't have a topic for this either, so...
Well, I'm not prepared, so I'm just pulling shit out of my ass. Topic number 1. David Cage. Bad game designer or worst game designer?
Worst. No. Okay, hold on. Here you go. Okay, look. Now, let it be said, David Cage is the producer of Heavy Rain, Indigo Prophecy, and Beyond Two Souls?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Head producer, or I don't know what his role is. And he wrote it. I don't know what he did.
He has a bunch of claims to fame, being one of the worst writers I've ever had the misfortune of hearing dialogue from, claiming that he doesn't want game mechanics in games, and being a shameless fucking bitch and getting Ellen Page to pose nude, rotoscoping the model, and then putting it in the game without her permission. That's Slimebag David Cage.
Yeah, that was terrible. When I read that, I was like, oh my god, why would you just... That's not only rude, but just... what's the word? Guys, give me a word.
Hey, Ellen, we need you to pose naked. Won't put it in game just for model. Put Ellen naked in game.
And she's like, are you going to use this? Because I don't want you to.
No, shut up, you woman.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just for me to masturbate to at the end of the day.
Excuse me?
So we should all probably... I think David Cage is British and has no discernible accent beyond a British one. Is he even British? Well, no, I'm being a jackass and I'm giving an accent to him because he's a fucking stupid cock and I want to punch his throat. But yeah, David Cage created some of the most revered and reviled non-games of our generation, like Heavy Rain, Indigo Prophecy, and whatnot. Hates game mechanics, so he makes choose-your-own-adventure games, which I already have a problem with. Perhaps someone on the boat of storytelling and games in this particular menagerie of people we have, menagerie, mind you, can vouch for his approach. But then he goes and fucking puts a nude model of Ellen Page, a super hot lady who fucking posed nude so her model could be properly rotoscoped for this character, makes it accessible in the game without her permission. This guy is just so fucking despicable, and I want to just tear him a new one on this goddamn podcast, which is why I brought his name up.
Not to mention that model's now all over Gary's mod and shit.
Yeah, it's in Gary's mod, which means game over. Everyone now knows how awesomely hot Ellen Page is.
Am I
No, not that I've ever looked or nothing.
Am I the only one who just think that she's just okay? She's just okay.
Explain.
There's nothing to say. I like what I like. But on the topic of this, I'm completely on Ellen's side. This is some fucked up shit from a guy who is controversially fucked up in the head. He thinks he's tough shit. He thinks he's doing some favor for gaming. He does.
This is very Uwe Ball of me to say, but I would like to face him in the amateur boxing ring.
Like, he thinks he's done something so unbelievably magnificent. My thing is, I only played Heavy Rain in its completion. I got the best ending on my playthrough. To be honest, it was not until its flaws were brought to my attention that I started to notice them so deeply. I didn't really have a problem with my playthrough, and I generally don't mind games that focus on story first, gameplay later, or don't have any gameplay at all, for that matter. I've played games like that, and I enjoy those, personally. But that's just because I'm a sucker for a story. Now, whether or not I thought Heavy Rain's story was good, I didn't think the story itself was good. I thought that the decisions it had you make were interesting.
I did play Heavy Rain as well. I got the worst ending in the game. and everyone died except the asshole in the game. About Carlos's comment, saying or you were mentioning how choose your own adventure games weren't really a good type of game. I kind of want to disagree. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, depending on how it's done. Like, maybe your choices affect the ending of a game, but at the same time, I want to say, well, that's kind of not fair. Like, if you didn't know that, oh, you called this person a bitch or something, they die. I don't know.
That person's mortality hinged on them not being called a bitch at that moment.
You know exactly what I meant.
I'm going to agree with Newsy on this, because, okay, well, let's start this off right. I have not played any of his games. I agree with Carlos that the fact that he put the model in is despicable and probably deserves a good number of shots to the nuts, if he actually has it. However, I don't agree on the choose your own adventure comment there, Carlos. I mean, yes, I'm a fan of the choose your own adventure book style. I like the idea of games throwing things at you that can make a difference, or things that won't. I was a fan of the Walking Dead episodic game by Telltale?
Yes, the Telltale.
Thank you.
And also, awesome game.
I mean, they really managed to grab choices to throw at you and make it emotional, so on that way, those guys can tell a story and add in the choices in there. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen in videos, Heavy Rain seemed to be very storyline driven with very little gameplay / what's the word I'm looking for here?
Mechanics, maybe?
Because I haven't played, I can't speak about the mechanics. I can only go by what I'm hearing from other people. But just looking at how people were playing it, I guess mechanics is right, but it also, for a very heavy story-based or story-driven game, it seemed fucking boring.
The rational side of me says games are different things to different people, and if you like very story-heavy games that are light on the mechanics, hey man, all the more power to you. Maybe play ones that are better written than David Cage's shitty offerings, but okay. The passionate side of my brain says you're all a bunch of homos.
Since I played it, I do know for a fact that, since we're talking about choosing your own adventure, throughout Heavy Rain, I didn't realize that any choice I made actually did not matter until like the last 10 minutes of the game. Hence why everyone died.
If I can interrupt a moment, I just want to repeat what usually goes at the beginning of the podcast and say, there are going to be huge spoilers here, people. Please continue, Kiki.
When I played through, I thought, like, oh, the difference. Usually when you choose your own adventure, it means when you choose to say something or do something, it's going to change how the story goes. I found out much later, after I played Heavy Rain, that nothing mattered until the last 10 minutes, and it's just whoever lives, lives, whoever dies, dies, depending on your last choice in the game. Now, I don't think that was a good way of doing it. What about that game you liked, Legend of Legaia, where you had a choice to kill one girl or the other?
That was Grand Stream Saga.
Oh, yes, that one.
And yes, that game's ending also hinged on an 11th hour choice. That said, in that game, that, by the way, is the No Faces RPG on PlayStation 1, where none of the character models outside of the anime cutscenes had any faces. It was kind of creepy. That game was more built around a battle system, because combat was in real time. But yeah, in the story, it was an 11th hour choice that ultimately gave you one of two very different endings. Neither one necessarily good or bad, although I would argue one was better than the other. That said, yeah, there's a benefit to leaving all the stuff at the 11th hour, because that means you can make a save near the end and then see all the endings without needing to replay the whole game. And if you want to replay the game after, hey, it's your call, and I'm okay with that. My understanding of Heavy Rain, because I'd never wanted to play it because it looked like it would bore me to tears, is that the identity of the killer never changes depending on your choices. And for a game designed in that vein, I think that's a huge misstep. I think a game like that needs to have a logic branching system in play where anybody could be the bad guy, and it depends on the choices you make, so you get a fresh experience every time.
I kind of agree. I really agree with that. It's just like, it was just really kind of butt to find out that for the way that the story was being told, it was never going to be different, really. It's like, the only things that mattered in your ending is who lived and who died, and the short little, rather unsatisfying epilogues you saw of each of the characters' little endings.
If I understand correctly, then, and I know I'm going to reference a game that some people here haven't played, but as you go through the game, the decisions you make earlier in the game don't affect anything that happens later?
No.
Not
that's
really.
If it's not even the most minute detail, that's stupid, because even Mass Effect 1 got that right.
You know, it would be funny if the kid never died in Heavy Rain. It's like, oh, I managed to save my kid, and then some meteor just takes him out or some shit.
Like the...
Jason! God damn it!
Like, in Heavy Rain, like, depending on your choice, it'll be, like, very minor things, like... I can't remember this one thing, but one time at a police station, at this one scene, I was supposed to remember some watch, but instead I remembered a coat or some crap like that. And I missed a cutscene, but it still took me to the scene right after. Whereas if I would have remembered him wearing a watch or something, I would get an extra cutscene about talking about this watch. And then we go to the scene right after that it's supposed to go to. So it didn't matter if I remembered the watch or not. And then it's only up to like the point where everything starts to get dire, where you're supposed to try to piece together where the killer is. That's where it matters. Like, that's when people live or die kind of thing. Or it doesn't matter if you button the girl's shirt or not. You may or may not have sex with her, but even if you do, she still may die.
Gotcha.
Or dislike you.
I had something really funny I was going to say to all this, but god damn it. Did I say the thing about the meteor killing the kid yet? Yes. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck.
And I made a hilarious little joke comment about it.
David Cage! Oh, it makes me so mad, because now I can't remember my comment and I'm blaming him for it. Let's say you were making a video game, and you managed to somehow convince Ellen Page to pose nude for you. Do you put her model in the game against her wishes? Here to tell us why he would is Dave.
Am I making a porn game? Because that's about the only time that would be acceptable.
What if you're just making a titty-touching simulator?
Well,
Like the
then
ones in
she's
Japan?
saying yes, so sure.
This is not Japan.
Then she would know that it's a titty-touching simulator. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. I'm just really mad at David Cage and his shitty fucking game design and his shitty face. A stupid cock.
Why don't we talk about something positive?
Before we move off of David Cage, I'm surprised that we didn't spend more time talking about what he thinks is of games. How game over screens are a failure of the game design.
Oh.
That stupid piece of shit said that?
Yeah,
Wait,
that was
what?
him.
This.
Okay,
was that?
that is it. If I'm in Vegas for AVO and that guy is there, I am challenging him to amateur boxing, because now I really do gotta beat the shit out of him.
Poe, what happened
Game
was...
over, man.
What?
He'll see a game over screen, trust me. Even if I have to write it with his blood.
You're gonna go all Little Mac on him?
Yes. But the buff-ass Little Mac from the Super Nintendo game who beat the shit out of that old man. To paraphrase Two Best Friends Play.
Popo, since you missed that last comment, what he said in an article was that a game over screen in a game means it is a failure of like the game mechanic.
Holy fuck. Sorry, I'll let someone else talk.
Why the fuck?
When you run out of lives in Mario 1 and you play when you die on the first part of Mario 1, and you got a game over, sorry, it's a failure of the game.
And he's not totally blaming his own ineptitude for running into the very first Goomba.
No.
You know, that's kind of like
God damn
saying...
it.
I know, he's a stupid cock. This is kind of like saying that a movie that ends at the 2-hour mark has failed because novels are longer.
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
This is an example of a dude who has zero understanding of the medium he professes to claim to be an expert in. A game over is no, jackass, the game over screen is the point. You're trying to avoid it. And how you as a designer make these challenges in such a way that I'm encouraged to avoid that game over screen and go through your challenges and learn a little bit about myself and your game design, how you express your art through it, that's gaming. It's not fucking whatever the fuck it is you make. Oh my god.
I know that.
I wish you guys could see me right now. There is steam coming out of my ears.
I know that we've been going on about David Cage and we're really fucking mad at him. I will only give him the benefit of the doubt here and once, and in regards to something very specific. I would never defend this point of view, but for the kind of game he makes, yes, I would think that for his type of game, if his game truly had a genre that it could call its own, then yes, perhaps it would be a failure of his genre's game design. If you're supposed to have an open-ended story that's supposed to have multiple endings, that if you make the wrong decisions, characters can get killed off, yes, I would expect if there was ever a game over screen, like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead disappointed me with that, and I will give Heavy Rain that much. If you did something wrong in Heavy Rain, you had to deal with the somewhat consequence that was there. Walking Dead would give you a game over screen if you failed to do the quick action time sequence, and that disappointed me. Because I feel like if you died, you should have all of a sudden taken control of another character at that point in time and went from there. That would have been awesome. So I agree with him on that. He speaks for the entire gaming medium, and that is what pisses me off. He did not specify his kind of game. He specified all games.
Oh, Richie, when you were just about that whole Walking Dead thing, what you wish would happen, if you failed a quick time event or died, that's actually what this one Wii U game does. It's called Zombie U.
Fuck that game. Fuck that game. That's another discussion, and that is a shit game. Let's not talk about it now.
I'm just saying that when you die in that game, it sounds exactly like what you wish would happen in that Walking Dead moment. It's like when you die and you take care of you take control of the next character, and it's inevitable that you might end up running into your old zombified character that you got killed by.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those types of games where, if for anyone who doesn't know, Zombie U is that kind of game where if you die, then it's like permadeath for that character. You drop all of the equipment that you've been working up to on the spot, and you take control of a new survivor and have to, similar to Dark Souls, work your way back to your body in order to pick up your stuff. And if you die on your way there, then you lose all that progress, and it's, oh, fuck that shit. Fuck Dark Souls. Fuck Zombie U.
You know, I have to say, that actually sounds pretty cool. Though
it is.
Though I was going to say earlier...
It's an acquired taste.
Sure. And I was going to say, speaking of acquired taste, I think you raised a good point earlier when you said for his kind of game, yeah, if he's going to make a game where a story is modular and where it modifies based on your choices, if you ever do see a game over screen, maybe that is a failure. Maybe if your best friend gets killed versus your best friend living, this should lead to two separate and perhaps similarly gratifying conclusions for the gamer. And I totally buy that. And yeah, I agree 100% that he should not be speaking for the industry because fuck that stupid cock. That said, I don't know, it sounds to me like Zombie U is exactly what you're looking for. And if that kind of game is designed in such a way to encourage you to work your way up to the point where you died before, it seems to me like it's succeeding at something, because that's what David Cage misses. The game over screen is not the failure. The game over screen that utterly dejects you and doesn't make you want to try again, that is the failure.
Like F-Zero on GameCube.
Fuck that game, man.
I was like, I agree. It's just like, I'll leave it at this. Games like Dark Souls and Zombie U, it's like, let's not even go to the point where Zombie U's controls are on the point of abysmal. And let's not go into, I'm not particularly fond of the control layout of Dark Souls, because these two games are very, very comparable. One is just much more difficult. Being Dark Souls. But that is an acquired taste. That's a topic for another day, unless we wanted to go into that topic of games that are designed to be difficult from the start. They are designed completely to fuck your shit over without any chance of you ever having any kind of chance, without, like resorting to some tactic that abuses something.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, I was about to say, okay, next topic. Games that fuck your shit over from the beginning. Here to tell us about it is Dave.
Well, actually, a topic I can talk about. Wow. That's great. I've been kind of silent this whole time.
Yeah, you have, homo.
Shut up.
Fuck you. I'll amateur boxing right now.
But you've already lost.
I didn't see no blood.
How?
Because it's Carlos. He just loses.
Internet fighting.
Anyway, I played Dark Souls. Now, let me tell you my experience with Dark Souls as an example here. I don't mind hard games. Not at all, in fact. But it does have to have at least a minor learning curve. I rented Dark Souls when it first came out. Or is Dark Souls the first game in the series, or is that the second one?
Darkest Souls is the second. Demon Souls is the first.
Okay, so let's go back to Demon Souls then, because that's the game I played. Demon Souls, I knew what I was getting into when I rented it. I played it for all of 10 minutes, said fuck this shit, and I turned it off and went on to something more fun. The difficulty was just on a level of frustration that at the time I don't think I could deal with. We're only talking a couple of years. I'm only saying this because when Sony put it on the PSN store for free, I re-downloaded it and gave it another shot. And it must have been that I chose a character class that... Not really character classes, but how you start in the game. I must have just chosen the right character for me or something, because I put a good 20 hours, 30 hours into that game that time. I've never gone back and finished it. I think I was only on the second or third dungeon sort of thing. It's big, and it's hard, but it's just one of those games that the first run up this castle's stairway, they give you the basic controls, and if you can't figure out how to use that in your best interest, fuck you. That's basically the idea.
This is totally a leading question, and I apologize for using a leading question, but would you say that the game encourages you to play by beating you down, but not so much to the point that you just want to hang yourself?
No. I disagree. I think it does beat you down to the point where you want to hang yourself, and that is what motivates very hard-edged people to want to overcome it. They think, this game can't beat me. I can beat any other game, when they don't realize that most games are not as hard as they used to be. This game is designed with the 115% intent on being frustratingly difficult. Ninja Gaiden is the same way. To a lesser extent, and I'm talking about the newer Ninja Gaiden games, and to a lesser extent than Dark Souls, Ninja Gaiden is not designed to punish you. This game is designed to punish you. If you die here, you can lose hours, days, maybe months worth of progress in one death. And you now need to... Yes.
No.
Yes.
Rumble, guys, do it. This will bring in ratings.
Ding, ding, ding.
I cannot go along with that thinking, because for that it would have to be along your complaint about Zombie U. Yes, when you die in Demon Souls, yes, you lose health until you manage to kill another boss and resurrect. That is crippling in many cases, I agree, but you don't lose progress. I mean, let's be realistic here.
I mean, okay, I should have specified. You don't lose your spot. You don't have to start over. You don't necessarily have to rebuild your character from the ground up either. I should have specified. You don't have to do all of that. I think it's you lose all of your money. You lose any undetermined stat points that you've gained. Like if you build up experience, you can slot them into statistics, but if you don't spend them, you lose them on your corpse, and you have to retrieve them, or else you lose them if you die on your way to your corpse. It's something like that. So no, technically you don't lose progress. I mean, if you build yourself wrong and you have not decided to put your points, because where you put your points will decide whether you live or die in some cases in that game, then you royally fucked up. And you will spend a greater portion doing something over again.
I wouldn't say you fucked up more than that the game itself does not handle that process at all satisfactory.
But that is my point. It was designed to handle it exactly like I said.
Diablo 1,
they want it to be like that. The designers make no qualms about it. They want you to know that this game's gonna kick your ass.
Diablo 2 didn't do that.
They put it on the box.
Original Diablo 2 did.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't agree. In this case, while I like games that give me the ability to redo my stat points so that I'm not permanently fucked if I decide to build a character a certain way. Best example I can give is Bethesda's Oblivion, vanilla. In that game, if you built your character wrong, you were just utterly fucked and you had to start over.
Yeah.
Demon's Souls is a little bit more forgiving on that. And yes, I am going to say it's more forgiving. Vanilla, of course. But that's... I don't like having to read an FAQ or a wiki before I play a game so I build the right sort of character. So in that way, yes, it's brutal. Yes, they're saying it's going to kick your ass. They are definitely going after what we would have considered a niche group before it sold however many million of copies. There's obviously more of a demand for I just got raped 4 ways to Sunday sort of games. But I don't think it's completely unfair, and here's why. Carlos, your comment about the whole hanging thing, basically that's what I went through the first time I played the game.
Look at these scars. Look at them.
I crossed the road. I didn't go down the street.
Oh, that is a dark reference that very few people will get.
I didn't get it.
Me neither.
What?
When you slit your wrists, you want to go down the street, aka up your arm, then across the road, across your wrist.
That way you ensure death.
Yeah.
It's dark like my soul. Please continue, Dave.
Anyway, so my first experience with the game is totally what you were talking about, Carlos. It kicked my ass. It was unforgiving. And at the time, I had no patience for it. I had it for free. I sat down. I knew what I was getting into, even though I wasn't looking forward to repeating the experience. And was I frustrated multiple times by the multiple ass rapings I took from different guys? Absolutely. But I learned. In that way, Demon's Souls is very much like a puzzle game. Once you've figured out the enemy, unless you're fucking around, you've got this. So, at least as far as Demon's Souls go, I'm gonna come out and say it wasn't as bad as the later games, so I've heard.
I think there's an art to it. I think you can design a game that frustrates people if you're frustrating them in such a way to make them come back. I know I mentioned Kyan's name a lot, but the maker of I Want to Be the Guy. But he made I Want to Be the Guy to be that. Yeah, he's beating you down, but he's never trying to beat you down so bad that you don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. He's trying to beat you down in a way that makes you go, oh, fucker. Oh, I'll show you, kind of deal.
I was just about to say, I haven't played this Demon's Souls or Darkest Night, whatever, either, but from what everyone else is saying, I would not enjoy, I guess there's people who enjoy it, but I would not like a game where it's just like, oh, you fucked up, sorry. Oh, you fucked up, sorry. And it's like, okay, well, I learned, oh, you fucked up, sorry.
No, this game doesn't even tell you sorry. It just
Oh, you
it
fucked
makes
up
it
too bad.
it makes it harder for you. It's like if you die, let's put it this way, if you die in the first or second boss or something like that, it's like you lose like a portion of your health that you need to return to your body to gain or something along those lines. Or your soul is weakened, like
Yep.
your weapon is not optimal, your armor is not optimal.
No.
Yeah, or something along
Not
those
in Demon
lines.
Souls. The only downside was the health.
Was it? Because
Yes.
in Dark Souls, which I have more experience with, because I actually own that one. I played Demon Souls, and again, I wanna make a disclaimer right quick that I probably should have made before I started going on a tangent about Demon Souls or Dark Souls or both of them. And two disclaimers. One, I've not beaten either. I've probably played 6 hours of Demon Souls and maybe 12 hours of Dark Souls. I have not progressed far at all in either. And and the second disclaimer is that I don't mean to make it sound like Demon Souls or Dark Souls is a horrible game that no one should ever play or that it doesn't deserve any of its praise. I just think it's a very niche kind of game, not designed for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a given. Don't be afraid on this podcast to say something's crappy, because different games are different things to different people. Different people are going to have different preferences.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm defending it, but I'm defending it based on the 20 or 30 hours I put into Demon Souls, and I have no intention of ever going back because, yeah, I was raped. I lost interest after a while due to some of the large maps and memorization you have to do, and just kind of lost interest compared to everything else. But that doesn't mean... I mean, I work with guys who loved that game and were just like, oh yeah, well I did this last night and this was great and this sword's this and that. I mean, it's very much the RPG elements to it really do get some people going with the difficulty. So it's just a harder version. As much as the developer wants to say, oh yeah, this game's going to rape you and everything else, it's going to, but a good player who takes the time to learn the mechanics can kick its ass.
F-Zero GX on GameCube.
Fuck
Let's
that
not talk
game.
about that game.
That game
Oh yeah, I remember that game, especially its
is
story mode.
so ridiculously hard.
It's like they were like, man, this wipeout thing, what is with this noise where if you fall off the track, you just get set back a bit? Remember when F-Zero on Super Nintendo just killed your ass? Let's do that, but make it just as fast as Wipeout.
Yeah, so the game is extremely fast. The story mode, it tries to teach you how to play the game, but as you're being taught a lesson like, okay, so when you're about to land, you have to hold up so you land softly, and if you don't do it right, you're going to go flying because you're going just as fast as, like, fucking the speed of sound. And, like, and it teaches you how to cut corners and stuff, and if you get cutting that corner slightly wrong, you are not making that turn. You're going to either crash into somebody else and explode, you might fly off and explode, you might sit there and explode, something will happen. You might run over a mouse, you might explode, and and it got to the point where in order to get to the very last piece of the story mode, and you had to do that very last race, and I guess there was this one part I could never do, and it was something about cutting a corner just right, and then you have to land properly, and then speed up, and do something else, and you're supposed to have the most perfect timing to do that, otherwise you are failing that course, and you only have one shot to do all this. It's not like you have extra lives. It's if you fall off, you're done. Or if you get hit too much, you're done. You're going to explode. It's just whoever designed that is just like, okay, you know what? I understand you wanted to go back to the whole F-Zero on SNES where if you do go flying off or if you do take too many hits and you don't go on the recovery strip, you will explode and you have to do the track again. And I think you only have so many times you can do a track unless you're doing really well. but I mean, in that game, you're not going godly fast. Like, yes, it looks like you're going fast, and I understand that they want to make it look like, okay, this is futuristic racing.
Mode 7!
You want them to. It looks like you're going, what were the speeds in F-Zero GX? Like 600 clicks or something like that?
I think the fastest you could go was like 1,000 clicks.
Yeah, no, I think that was like the minimum or some shit.
The minimum was 600. The max was like 1,000 clicks.
Was it really only 1,000? I swear it was like 1,700.
1,000 kilometers is pretty fast.
I know that, but that was the whole point. And cool, that's awesome. I get that you want to show that these cars are really fast and that this is an extreme racing. But you have to make it so it's playable. Like, I've got to the point where I'm just like, I don't even care. I just put the controller down. I'm like, this is just way too extreme, way too difficult. I don't know if it was intentional. It probably wasn't, but it was just completely uncalled for.
That whole game, if people remember level 3 or the snake level or the one weird grindy wheel thing that would kill you in one hit level in Battletoads, that was this whole game. Like, this whole game was level 3 in Battletoads, non-stop, always throwing it out at you. One mistake and it's over. Like
I don't... You know something about F-Zero GX? I'm going to slightly defend F-Zero here, because I really only noticed this blistering difficulty that you guys are talking about in the story campaign. The story campaign
that's what we were talking about.
Okay. So you weren't talking about the game overall, because as a racer, the regular racetracks, I found myself not dying much at all.
You're a way better racer than I am, because even in versus mode, where if you fall off the track, you're just put back a bit and you can continue, even there, things were just flying at me so fucking fast, I couldn't react. Like, and maybe this is a case of it just not being, maybe this is an acquired taste, and it's just, man, I can handle Sonic Adventure, but I can't handle F-Zero, right? That might just be it too.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I remember... I do remember seeing zipping by, and I was pretty good at just the regular racing, not the story mode. The story mode was absolutely terrible, like I've just been ranting about a few seconds ago. But, I mean, kind of like what Karkar said, just things were zipping by, and I was just like, what? When was I supposed to? Wait, what? There goes the healing. What the fuck? Like, oh, I'm supposed to do this and that. Excuse me, I burped. And I'm just like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? I was better. I didn't always fall every 3 seconds, because I wasn't that terrible at the game. I want to say I was pretty decent at it, actually. But, I mean, compared to SNES, where, yeah, you're going fast, you can still react to things. At least in this SNES, you can go through the tracks, and you're like, okay, yeah, I just can't mess up kind of thing.
Well, I think the other thing is that the SNES, for all its illusion of speed, was actually manageable and much slower, right? And that's fine, too. Like, that was kind of the draw of F-Zero, is that it was like, look, it kind of feels like a futuristic racer, and for my money, it's still a lot of fun to play to this day. A lot of the track design in the SNES one was a lot plainer, too, because thanks to Mode 7, every track was flat, right? So there weren't things like the gravity tubes and the weird loop-de-loops that F-Zero GX tracks, or even something like F-Zero on the N64 threw at you. So it was probably just a lot more manageable.
Do you guys want to also talk about like a difficulty spike, since we're talking about difficult games?
We can talk about difficulty spikes. Here's a difficulty spike that I can think of right off the top of my head. In Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, which is a very easy game for the most part, Gurgoth will murder the fuck out of you the first time you face him, and you're like, what the shit? Why is this game so hard? I have no place to maneuver, and the whole screen is a hazard, and he takes out the tower, and now you've fallen away from the save point, so even if you beat him, you have to carefully not die on your way back to the save point. It was crazy.
Who's Gurgoth? I remember Dawn of Sorrow. Isn't that the one I played?
Yeah, he's the evil creature. Well, good narrowing down, Carlos.
It was that giant bipedal gray thing who had rotting skin, and every time it charged its beam attack, its skin would peel back, showing off a red face, going ah.
Oh yeah. I don't remember my fight with him though. You know what was hard? That stupid Castlevania where you're that chick. That game was ridiculously hard.
Order of Ecclesia, yeah.
Yeah.
Order of Ecclesia.
Fuck that game.
Did not fuck around if you played it on its terms. If you didn't overlevel, if you just played it clean, just grabbing whatever weapons came your way, that game was not afraid to kill you. It was like, oh, you guys think Symphony of the Night was easy? All right, the second crab, you will die 7 times trying to kill.
I was so mad. I don't tend to overlevel. I tend to just play as is for the most part. When I was younger, I probably overleveled a lot of games, but now I'm just like, whatever, I'll just go through it, whatever. So when I played that goddamn fucking game, I think I was at the 3rd boss. Which one was it that I was stuck? No, it was that stupid little forest thing, I think.
The forest thing. I don't know which one you're speaking of.
I'm trying to remember where I was just like, that's it, I'm done.
The boss I was stuck at was that crab where you have to climb the tower.
I was kind of mad at that crab because I didn't realize that I had to throw, was it the axe or something to finish it or something?
Yeah, you had to throw a switch when you got to the top, right?
Yeah, and I didn't know that because I was just sitting there for a good, 30 minutes, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do? I'm pretty sure he's dead. And I just got so fed up. After I killed that crab, there's this one part where you have to walk left towards some sort of like misty forest or some crap. I just kept dying, and I was like, fuck it.
I don't think that was a boss. I think that stretch, I think I remember what you're talking about. It was just a difficult stretch of level.
Yeah. I'm not talking about a boss. I'm talking about after that stretch, I was just like, fuck this game.
There was a boss later in the game that I nearly threw it against a wall at. It was this one guy, I think his name was Blackmore, and he controlled shadow puppets on the wall, but the shadows could actually hit you. The shadow puppet took up approximately 90% of the screen, and you had to kind of Ikaruga your way through various little openings constantly through the fight. It was really hard.
I love hearing when people get so mad they're about to throw something at a game, because I've almost done that so many times. I
broke a GameCube controller once. I broke a GameCube controller playing Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, Hedgehog.
Yeah, I was playing this game. Don't ask me why. I was young. I was stupid. Playing this game. I just had my new goldish silver, what's it called? I still have it. GameCube controller, and I was playing Shadow the Hedgehog, and just something inside of me snapped. It wasn't that it was difficult. It wasn't that, because it's not a difficult game. It's just like, it's not that it was difficult or that. It was probably like some glitch or some bug or some shit or something. And I just like questioned life at that moment and said, why am I playing this? And threw the fucking controller against the floor and broke the analog. That happened.
Did you get the blue screen of death on it? The PSO death noise that went.
No. It was something else. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it was a glitch. If I just fell through a level, like it was just an annoying level, and I was right near the end, and I think I glitched through the floor, and I just questioned all existence at that moment, being like, why am I doing a second playthrough to see the other story? And threw the controller in rage.
Death Egg Zone, Act 1, the stupid eyeball with the spikes.
Oh yeah,
that asshole.
I was like sitting here like, wait, who is this guy? Oh yeah, that guy. He was pretty hard.
In a piss easy game, that guy was no fucking joke, man.
Isn't he impossible to kill with those?
With Knuckles, because Knuckles normally can't access that level unless you somehow glitch a platform under it. You can't kill it.
And that's not the reason why he's hard either.
No, he's hard because motherfucker, like, especially if you try to do him with 0 rings, which I'm a masochistic asshole and I'll try to do, even if you have rings, you just have to really watch it, because he takes 16 hits, which is, I think, more than any other boss in the all of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but he attacks you at angles and whatnot that make it difficult to get out of the way if you don't know what's coming. Like any Sonic boss, once you realize the pattern, there are places to stand where you don't get hit and whatnot. But the first time there, it's a bit of a wake-up call. It's like, okay, you're in the game's home stretch, and you've had a few zones that were just little one-act little scenes where you just ran right through, and Metal Sonic wasn't all that tough. So wake up, motherfucker. The rest of this game is not going to be so easy. And then it was totally that easy, because nothing else challenged you quite like that boss. Speaking of...
Oh, I got another difficulty spike.
Do it.
So, in a comparably easy game, compared to like all the other levels to it, the final stage in DuckTales Remastered.
Yeah, the first
Mount Vesuvius.
stretch of Mount Vesuvius is so fucking brutal. Kiki, you remember watching me play through that on hard, right?
Yeah.
Those bats are placed just nefariously. After the first stretch, the rest of the levels comparatively easier, but still harder than the other 5 levels for sure.
For me, It's hard because sometimes whenever I try to jump, I do like a pogo jump. It was whenever I dangle from a chain link to pogo, to pogo bounce on the spike, the pogo doesn't register and I still get hit. I think that's more like my fault. I'm like getting the timing off slightly, but that's just kind of annoying, especially when there's all those bats positioned precariously above the spike pit and in between the other chain links.
Yeah, that first stretch. Holy fuck, that first stretch is brutal. And kudos to Way Forward.
I've got one for you, Carlos.
Do it.
General Ram.
Oh, man. That, like, this is a bit of an end-of-game difficulty spike, but Rom was not fucking around, man. Gears of War, how many times did it take us to beat him the first time?
And that was on normal. Remember freaking hard, even after we knew how to do them?
Yeah, that guy took a lot of sniper shots directly to the brain without so much as fucking flinching.
So, just for the others who haven't seen this, the General Ram battle was the final boss of Gears of War 1. And you're stuck on a flatbed trailer behind this train that you're trying to use as a weapon delivery system. And there's kind of 2 parts to this battle. 1, trying to take him out. 2, trying to stay out of the dark, because the second you go into the dark, these crawl things automatically kill you. They're like bat bird things that if they're not being hit by light, they can kill you instantly. In 2-player mode, 1 person dies, it's over. The other person does not get to continue.
Yeah, because in Gears of War, normally if you're down, your other guy can pick you up. But if something just kills you, like if something blows you to bits, you're done, and both players have to go back to the checkpoint. And both Rom and the Krill are able to do this. Oh, and there's a little fact that Rom was able to control the Krill, used them as a shield, and could telekinetically or telepathically direct them at you. But it was still a super epic fight, because you had Colin Baird alongside you in the helicopter with the spotlight on him, and they were kind of taking pot shots at him too, but they could never actually finish him. Yeah, that was a difficult fight.
You know, when you talk about it, it just brought back memories. I just remembered the Ram fight. Holy shit.
That was an epic fight, man.
It was. I just remembered that fight. Holy shit. I remembered I didn't do it co-op. I did it by myself.
Yeah.
God
Wow.
damn. I was like, I just realized that the number of times that I died was not my NPC's fault, but my NPC did not help me at all. I did not have the extra firepower, and I felt like the fight took forever. One side of the train, run all the way to the other side of the train, get it behind the cover, keep shooting. You know, the CPUs, they fire, and they're accurate enough, but, you know, he's using a fucking assault rifle. I'm using a sniper. You know, it's just like, I'm trying to kill him, and he's just kind of like, hold on, man, I got you. I'm like, dude, get something stronger.
That's awesome. I have to admit, I never beat ROM by myself on hard. I did it on normal, and it was pretty brutal not having a partner. On hard, I've never done it by myself.
I can't remember what difficulty I did it in. It must have been normal.
Well, you can't unlock the hardest difficulty until you beat normal, so I don't know if that helps.
Oh, all right, so it was normal, so I feel slightly less important about my badassery.
I think that game really nailed the bosses. There are only 2 major bosses in Gears 1, but in a way, a lot of the normal encounters were like mini-bosses. Like, anytime you had to fight boomers, that was a difficulty spike, because boomers in Gears 1 were not a joke. They came in pairs, and when someone in your squad called out boomer, you fucking took cover because those guys could insta-gib you, and you had to be careful, and you had to get out of cover when they were approaching you. In Gears 2 and 3, they throw boomers and boomer variants at you, like the grinders, like they were fucking candy, and they are basically just glorified grunts at that point. In the first game, 2 boomers were generally a mini-boss.
I'm pretty sure they probably looked at my gameplay record and said, oh, fuck. We give this guy a sniper rifle, and boomers just don't cut it.
But in the first game, like, as I recall, yeah, you could active reload one-shot a boomer in the face. Okay, but they never just threw 2 boomers at you. They threw 2 boomers at you with grenadiers backing them up. So...
True.
In the second game, they, like, lined them up to be sniped. Like... They kind of threw numbers at you. Though in the second game, they made up for that by having some pretty epic bosses and one really shitty boss. And then in the third game, there were like no bosses except for 2 more bosses. Bosses, I'm going to say bosses a few more times. Here's a difficulty spike. Gears of War 3, the Lambent fucking Berserker.
Oh, fuck you.
I know, man. That was a wall. If I ever heard of one. Even with 4 people, we're like, how do we kill this motherfucker?
Actually, have 4 players made it even harder.
Yeah, because your dumbasses would get yourselves, like, trampled by the Berserker.
This doesn't sound nearly as full or as exciting or invigorating, but one that, a difficulty spike that came to my mind is in Tales of Vesperia. There was this one deer, Anticalea, there we go. Antilacea. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was in the forest, and we couldn't fucking do shit to him until we just spammed tractor beam.
Basically, what we did is, I was the main guy, whatever his name was again, Yuri, and I was just taunting, because that game had terrible AI that would almost always target player 1. So I would just taunt in order to keep him on me and to build up the gauge, which we all shared. And then Poe would be a melee DPSer and just start hitting him from the back. And you were controlling Rita, and you just repeatedly cast Tractor Beam, which did damage, and also kept him stunned for like 3 seconds. So we basically did that for an hour, or however long it took us to kill him.
Yeah, he wouldn't die.
On difficulty curves, I gotta bring up my all-time you motherfuckers video game. Carlos, you might know where I'm going with this.
Nope.
A certain game you always make fun of, a certain series.
Fuck you for your stupid Star Ocean.
Star Ocean!
Star Ocean 2 motherfucking Indolatio.
With the limiter off, I assume.
With the limiter off.
Yeah,
you
why did I turn that off,
want to talk difficulty curves? I unlocked that accidentally after leveling for 15 hours to kill the normal version of him. Get to him, and he bitch slaps me in about 2 seconds.
You know, there was actually a really easy way to beat him. Shield that could paralyze him.
Yeah.
Wait, how accidentally?
Okay, in order to get the limiter off, you have to talk to this one woman in this one room. The game gives you no clue at all that she's the key. When you talk to her, she says something very cryptic about how we shouldn't have talked to her, and now things are going to be so much harder. And then she vanishes, and your guys are like, what the fuck? And then you go fight Indolatio, and he says something like, so she's gone, now I can fight freely or some shit. And then he kills you. One-shots you every time you try to fight him.
Let me add the actual details here, because Carlos, you're correct. However, you had to find her in like 7 different cities in the last quarter of the game in a certain order and talk to her. And she just keep on appearing at different towns like a refugee sort of thing.
Well, it's not my fault I wanted to talk to people. The game wasn't doing it for
exactly. Me. You started to recognize her. It's like, hey, this chick. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm now going to disappear now and let him do what he needs to. And she falls down, you get this pendant. And then when you get to Indolatio, he's like, yes, she's gone. Now you will face my ultimate power. So like that. It's like, what the fuck? Boom, dead.
Hey, I feign ignorance. Can I just kill you, please?
So, and that's the funny thing, like, you like to talk to people in town, and you're like, oh yeah, here's this doggy. Oh yeah, here's this and this. And so it just so happened that because you like to talk to people, you just it happened.
It just happened.
It was crazy. Here's one in a game you wouldn't expect because it's a pretty easy game. There's this one crane boss in Final Fantasy VII. If it grabs 2 of your guys and kills the third one, game over.
What?
Yeah, because you don't have control of the other 2 characters.
It's like partway through disc 2, and I think it is the only game over I ever got in the game.
Wait, I don't remember this. There's a crane?
Yeah, it's this crane. It has 2 handles, and it would grab one guy, then grab another guy, and then it would lay all its firepower down on the third. And if the third guy died, the other 2 are considered KO'd and inactive, so it would game over you.
Holy shit.
It was the one fight where you had to actually put up shields and shit.
Wow, I don't remember this at all.
That's okay, it's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, fuck that game. There's another one I wanted to bring up, and for the life of me, I'm not remembering it. I think it might have been a Tales game. Maybe Tales of Eternia when you had to fight the stupid angel Rem. She was pretty hard.
What about the very first time we tried it on hard?
Oh yeah, and fucking and we didn't unlock manual mode, so we didn't know how to jump, so Earthshaker killed us every time.
It was so bad.
Wasn't that technically the first fight of the game?
It was the first fight.
We were just like, yeah, hard, because what happened for the listeners, I believe it was David who had Tales of Eternia, and Carlos and I were like, oh, we'll wait, and when David unlocks hard, Carlos and I will start playing.
Yeah, there was normal, hard, and hardcore, and we nabbed David's clear save so we can play on hardcore.
So we're like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. So the first fight in the game, we did not know what to do. We were just like, yeah, I'm gonna fight what? Earthshaker? How do I dodge this? What's going on? Oh god! Oh god!
It was pretty brutal, and those were our exact words we were playing. Here's another one. Secret of Mana, the stupid wall that tries to crush you.
Oh, didn't you, me, and Poe recently just die on that guy?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was that guy.
Yeah, we died on that guy. When we tried to play the 3-player together, because we're like, yeah, now we can finally play 3-player. And we were like, we're not going to level our magic. We're just going to play the game as is. And then I think it's the 3rd dungeon in the game where it's the creepy sounding ruins or whatever. We were getting our asses handed to us because everyone kept casting magic, and we're like, oh no, let's just run. And then we're like, okay, well, we're just gonna beat you and we'll win. And then it crushed us into the spikes.
Fuck that asshole. Here's one. Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, Blind the Thief.
Who's Blind the Thief? Oh, is that the one in the town?
Yeah. He was the guy who was disguised as the girl. You had to shine sunlight on him.
No, you know who was even harder though? That stupid first spiky guy where you needed where you get the hammer and you're supposed to.
Yeah, the Helmet Sword King is pretty fucking tough too.
What was his name?
Those 2 guys, the Helmet Sword King.
Yeah.
Those two bosses are pretty brutal for what is otherwise another pretty piss-easy game.
When I played that and I was fighting that guy, and I was just sitting there like, what do I do? Why am I dying? I can't fight this guy.
His
So when
tail
I got-
did so much damage to you, too, when he swung it around.
Yeah,
and you had
so-
to dodge it while you were dealing with his movement.
It was ridiculous. I remember when I was playing that, and I was just like, okay, I am about to die, and I'm dead. Great. But since I didn't remember, since I haven't played that in so long, when I was warped to like my house in the Dark World or something like that. If you die in the Dark World.
If you die in the Dark World, if it's in a dungeon, you're taken to the entrance. If you're not in a dungeon, you get taken to the top of the Pyramid of Power.
Yeah, so I was in the dungeon, and I was like, well, F that. I'm going to go somewhere else. So,
you know what? That first Dark World dungeon in general is just fucking brutal.
Yeah.
That dungeon is like, okay, bitches, you thought we were being easy on you? Here's a Zelda dungeon.
I ended up, and I remember that playthrough, I was just so terrified of that first dungeon. I was like, I'm not going back there for a while. I ended up only going back there as my last resort, besides Turtle Rock, I think.
Hey, who remembers Donkey Kong Country 2, the final boss?
Me.
He was
No.
pretty brutal. He was Captain K. Rool, I guess he was called in there. He did not fuck around. He was a pretty long and involved fight that you got no checkpoints for because modern games have spoiled us with their checkpointed boss fights. He would shoot poison gas at you, where if depending on the color, if you let it touch you, it would like reverse your controls, slow you down. And then if he hit you with one of them that messed you up, he would shoot a particularly difficult spread of spiked balls so that you had to go around them with your messed up controls. And then he would start teleporting and try to tag you and teleport right next to you. He was fucking brutal, man, especially in the later phases of the fight.
Donkey Kong Country in general was pretty hard, if I remember correctly. Oh! You guys, you know what's a really hard game? Crash 1.
Fuck that game, man. Crash Bandicoot 1 can kick my ass. Super well made, super brutal game. You guys talking about your Dark Souls? Dark Souls doesn't fucking touch Crash Bandicoot 1. Friend of the show, Paulo, not Apollo, but a different Paulo, would fucking scream his head off and throw that game at walls while I was over, and I don't blame him. That game was ridiculously difficult.
That game was brutal. Example from my side would be Final Fantasy 1.
Final Fantasy 1 is pretty hard when you're not playing one of the remakes.
That game, yes. I'm talking classic NES, original version. That game had difficulty spikes within dungeons, depending on what enemies would pop up. And then the ultimate difficulty spike was when you decided to actually go after the final boss. Because the final level was long as fuck. And you could get all the way to Chaos, and Chaos could kill your entire party with one spell, Quake. If you did not take the time to waste your magic and protect a couple guys with Float, your whole party was gone. One hit. And it could take you hours to go through the final dungeon levels, even with a fucking map.
Speaking of Final Fantasy IV, the Demon Wall.
I don't remember that game much.
I don't remember it much either.
The Demon Wall?
I do know what enemy you're talking about, but I don't remember him being that difficult.
He would slowly creep towards you, and when he reached you fully, he would randomly just crush and insta-kill the members of your party, forcing you into a mad juggle where you had to keep hitting him and he had to keep reviving people. It was pretty brutal in what was otherwise a fairly easy game.
Isn't that a pug?
The pugs are tonberries. Typically a difficulty spike when you accidentally encounter one, and you're like, oh, what a cute little dwarf fish man thing. Why is he stabbing my brain? Why is my brain on his knife?
As much as the Toneberry was a difficult enemy, the ones that made Final Fantasy 1 so fucking brutal were the Cockatrice, the Wizards, and the Sorcerers. Because the Cockatrice could actually turn your entire party to stone. Wizards would insta-kill like that.
I just remembered another one. Sorry, Nizzy. I just remembered another one from Final Fantasy IV. The Magnet Cave.
Oh, fuck that cave. I can't
Yeah,
wear
it's like-
metal. I have to
Yes.
actually use shitty bows.
Shitty
Nobody
bows
uses
and
bows.
wood equipment. And if everyone in your party's magnetized, when you go into a battle, it's instant game over.
Fucking retardation. That not only was that a difficulty spike, it was difficult to tolerate the fact that stupid Bard fucking had to save you. Fucking stupid Bard. What was his name?
Yeah.
Was it
Edward.
Edmund? It was
Edward.
Edward? What a stupid cock. That stupid motherfucker. That stupid motherfucker fucking steals Hella's daughter and fucking he's the uselessest motherfucker. His battle ability is to be a stupid coward. If it wasn't translated to flee, it would be stupid coward. Fight stupid coward item. Where he just comes off screen and lets your other assholes take the damage. And then that stupid cock saves you because he plays his heart. Fuck that game. Reminds me of fucking David Cage. And with that, I think we've come full circle.
No, I was gonna mention more.
Go, mention more.
While you guys are talking about, I had 2 games in mind, 2 different difficulty spikes. I don't know if anybody remembers this from Breath of Fire 2 besides the whole game.
Yeah, speaking of difficulty spikes, Breath of Fire 2, the whole game.
Hold on, besides the whole game, I don't know if you guys, I just remember this really vaguely, but there was this one part where you had to go inside this queen because she was fat, and you had to make her skinny by killing her fat cells. And
Oh, Christ.
you could only and since your character is all of a sudden your character is only nearsighted, you can see what's close to you, but you can't see what's out there in the map. What? Or no, it was the opposite way, I think. Yeah, you are apparently farsighted, so when you're close to a wall, you can't see it. So when you try to navigate through her organs and stuff, you could see far away on the map, but you can't see anything close to you. Since when was my character even mentioned to be farsighted? It was never mentioned again. It was never in anything else, just in her stomach.
The only saving grace of that dungeon was that there was no boss at the end to murder you. And fuck Breath of Fire 2, man. That's the only game I can think of where you abuse this system to gain 10 to 15 levels well before you should, and the game goes from being near impossible to just really, really hard. What the fuck, man? What do you mean Cat can only hit something for 1 damage? She's my fighter!
And not to mention, was that game extremely hard. It was extremely depressing.
I remember the Goldfly. It would hit you like a mock truck and dodge like everything you tried to hit him with. And then the Goldfly would taunt you. Like before battle, he'd be like, "Hey, motherfuckers, fuck Goldfly, motherfuckers. I will fuck your shit up. Let's get into battle right now." And then it plays bass bottle music. And then fucking this evasive motherfucker would hit you so hard. And he was a little fly, but he was gold. Holy fuck, Goldfly. Fuck the Goldfly.
It's like gold fly, eating golden crisp cereal. Can't get enough of this. Can't get enough of kicking your ass. Can never get enough.
Yes, that is exactly it. Folks, are we good?
Yeet.
Sure.
I'd say it's a good one for today.
Excellent. Carlos has been here.
And Dave.
Thank you. Signing off. Until next time, may all of the things you do in life reward you with other things that you want. And fuck that.
Shut up.
So, if you've liked what you heard, you want to leave us some feedback, you want to give us some criticism, whatever, our podcast site is tfgtg.blogspot.com, where you can also find the feed link and our YouTube channel.
You can also find us on Twitter at TFGTG. Yeah. There's no way to continue that. So
There's no way to continue that sentence.
please leave us some feedback. We accept good and bad. We will usually respond, seeing as we have such a small group.
We do have thousands of millions of followers, so we might not respond to you right away.
Sure, let's go with that.